refactor our code to be a bit more realistic here. So let's say we do want to have some kind of simple calendar here. And so basically, let's get rid of the console. So basically on the left, I want the months, and on the right, I don't know, I want the days, right? It just makes sense. It's a calendar. And then for the label down here, we can basically update that later on. So first of all, let's rework how we're doing our picker information. So right now, this is pretty inefficient, right? We're just declaring let item 1 equals this, title.caption. So we can figure out a much simpler way to do this. Well, actually, I don't know what's simpler, but we can figure out a much more efficient way to do this. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to declare up here a constant here. So let months equal. And what it's going to do, it's going to take in the title and also the caption separated by commas. So that's going to look like this. String, comma, string. Okay, so that's what months is going to look like. Oops, that should be a type, not equals. So months is type this array with strings inside of it. And then if we go like this, we can basically just individually describe the month. So what I'm going to do is for the title, I'll make the short version of the month. And for the caption up above, I'll put the full version of the month. So for example, Jan, comma, January. Okay, and then later we'll map this so that it makes sense logically. So I'm just going to go through now. I'm going to do this for every month. Okay, so I filled in every month with the short and the long version here. Right, so title on the left, caption on the right. And now we can use this when we set up our picker. So I'm going to basically get rid of some code here. For now, I'm just going to comment it out. And I'm just going to comment pretty much everything out here. Oops. Yeah, I'm going to comment everything out for now. And we'll come back to it. All right, so what is this attached to? Yes. Okay, so that's not doing anything. Now, when func awake is called, what we can do is something like this. Let picker items of type wk picker item equal. And here we will do some mapping. So months dot map, right? And here it tells us what we can do. If you've never used map before, you'll see that it allows us to basically transform our items into a certain format that we want. So months.map, and I did not want that. I wanted this. Okay, months.map. And we'll basically write a closure for this. So that's going to look like this. We can also pass in what we want it to expect. So string 1, string 2, in, and then, so for each picker item. So this is basically like going through each item. Let picker item equal. And it's basically like we're doing down here, except we're doing it in a much more efficient way, right? So here we're saying let item 1 equals wk picker item. Here we're going to go through for every one of our strings. Picker item. Okay, and then we basically grab the string on the left to put it as the title and the string on the right to put as the caption. So picker item dot title equals string 1, right? The string on the left. That's where we kind of gave it this definition up here, string 1, and then we're using in because we're using a closure. Picker item dot caption equals string 2. Okay, and then we return this. So return picker item. Alrighty, so now we have our picker items mapped out. So on the left it's going to be the title, on the right it's going to be the caption. And now we can basically use this in our set function. So because picker items is a collection basically of picker items, it's going to allow us to do that. So we have that, where is that? What is that one called on the left? That one is called my picker. So we just need to say my picker dot set items. And what are we setting in here? We're giving it the picker items that we just kind of mapped out in our closure. All right, so this should work. Let's test it out though and make sure. And this, it might seem like it's more difficult and it's a little bit more complex, but it's a lot more efficient in terms of our data structure. All right, so let's make sure it's working as intended. Here we go. Yep, so I can see that our months are modeled. I can scroll down. We still have the function down here to say item, whatever it is. But we can see at the top our caption is working, and we can kind of scroll through. So that's cool. And in fact, we can make our closure even better if we use shorthand names. So instead of declaring string 1, string 2 in, there's a more efficient way of doing that, which is just a $sign with the index basically. So this is going to be string at index 0, which is on the left, and this one here is going to be string at index 1. Okay, and this, it's the same thing, we just don't have to declare string 1, string 2, and we lose the in word. And that's our closure. Next, we'll do something similar with our days of the week. This one, it's actually going to be a little bit easier. So instead of just declaring them each individually as strings, what we can do is we can say let days equal 1.31. And basically, we're going to be able to loop over this and assign each number, essentially, in the picker and as the caption as well. So if we wanted to complicate it, we could go first, second, third. We'd have to type all those out manually. So probably let's just be easier on ourselves and we'll do it this way instead. Okay, so we have our range. We will basically say let picker 2 items, wk picker item equals days dot map. Okay, and then we are basically doing the same thing we did above, but for our different data type. Wk picker item dot title is this, and picker item dot caption will also be this. Okay, and then we return picker 2 item, and oops, I should probably make this picker 2. There we go. Okay, and then we will return that. And what is it unhappy about here? Let's find out. Yes, of course. So we're trying to assign an integer when all it'll accept is a string. That's easy enough to fix. So we'll just do one of these. There we go. So we're just kind of converting it on the fly into a string, like so. Easy peasy. All right, and now we say the second one is called my second picker dot set items, and we are setting it to picker 2 items. Okay, so let's try it out. Make sure it's working as intended. And if you're not aware of what a range is, it's basically allows us to, this dot 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 signifies that we're going to take the number 1, we're going to include all the numbers between 1 and 31. So 1, 2, 3, 4, all the way to 31. All right, so I can see over here, it does appear to have worked. I can kind of scroll through down to 31. Awesome. Over here, we can do the same thing. All right. Adjust the behavior of our label here, in other words, the action associated with our picker, on the left at least. So I wanted to show what month it is based on what we select in the picker, and that's actually very simple to do. So we'll go into our function here, and instead of let item equals value plus 1, well, we can actually go through our months here by the index, right? This is an array, and so that's going to be pretty easy for us to do. So all we need to do, let's change this a little bit. So we'll say let selected month equal, and we'll just go months and search via the index of whatever was selected. So arrays, of course, are also 0 indexed. So position 0 will be January. So we can definitely do that. And let's just see what this gives us. And I'm just going to replace this with, let's see, selected month. Selected month. So this probably won't work because it wants a string. Yeah, so let's convert it into a string. Do this. And we'll get rid of that over there. And like so. Okay, so let's try it out. Let's see what it does. And then we'll come back and we'll improve it a bit in a second. And then we'll also do the same thing for the days in another label, probably down below the first one. So we'll wait for this to load up. There we go. So if I scroll through here, yeah, so it's giving me my abbreviated and also the full version. And that's a simple fix. So if we go through month's value, it's going to give us basically whatever the index is, it's going to give us something like this. And we can just specify, do we want the first or the second string inside of there? So all we need to do for that is we say dot, and you see it gives us two options here. So we'll take the string that comes after the first one. Right? Again, zero-based index. So we want actually the second, but it's the first via the index. If we wanted the other one, we would say position 0. Okay, so this will return us a string, which means we don't need to do our string interpolation here. All right, so that should work as intended. So let's load that up. In the meantime, while that's loading, we will work on our picker 2 did change here. And so what we can basically say is let selected day. You know what, before that, we're going to need to have an outlet, or a label rather. But okay, yep. So yeah, this is working exactly how I intended. And cool. So let's add another label in here. And then we will basically do the same thing. So we'll add a label like so. Okay, we will center it. Okay, we'll make it an outlet as well. My second label. It's a WK interface label. All right. And then down here, we already have a function attached to our picker that was not doing anything previously. So we'll say let selected day equal. And this one, we can kind of cheese it a bit if we just say value +1, basically like we were doing before. And then we'll put that into our label. So my second label dot set text, and it takes a string, which means we will need to do this. And we'll say selected day. Okay, pretty simple solution. Is it the most elegant? Well, probably not, but it's probably going to work as intended. We'll make sure that it does work though. Okay, there we go. Build succeeded. And here is our test. Okay, so we're selecting our month. Over here, we are selecting our day. Perfect. All right. And then whatever we wanted to do here, we could put, I don't know, a submit button or something down below. But as for the first style of picker, I think we have a pretty good handle on that now. Let's also get it to set at, I don't know, January 1st. Or if we wanted, you know what, let's set it somewhere in the middle. So let's say we want to set it to, June 15th, as soon as this interface loads up. So how can we do that? Well, pretty straightforward. We basically set it whenever we initialize this view. So my picker dot set selected item index. And what index? Well, if we're starting with June, that's the 6th month, which would be index number 5. Okay, and same with my second picker. My second picker dot set selected item index. If we want to start at the 15th, well, that would be index 14, I do believe. Let's test it out, make sure it's working as intended, as usual. And it should look pretty spiffy. Okay, it should load up in a second here. All right, June 15th, exactly. All right, so it just shows we need to have a good understanding of indexes once we start wanting to manipulate our data in more complex ways. But that is our first style of picker. Next thing I want to go over is how to set an accessory image that'll kind of show up next to our options in our picker. So it's pretty easy to do. We just have to know how to get images into our WatchKit app. So just to briefly discuss how to do that, we're going to go to our file navigator here. And as you can see, I'm in my first WatchKit app main file here. So interface.storyboard. And there's this folder here, assets.xc assets. And if we want to use images and store them in our actual WatchKit app, we're going to need to put them in here, assets.xc assets. And if you go here, you notice there's one kind of folder called app icon. And this is where you would put the icons for your app. And it kind of tells you what they're for as well. So this would be for the Apple Watch Notification Center, companion settings, home screen, and short look. Obviously, we don't have any app icons in there at present, so it's all blank. But this is where you would put it once you figure out what your basically app icons are going to be. Now, in this video, we're not going to get too much into how to use our images in the WatchKit app, but we do want to know how to bring in images so that we can use them kind of in our background for our picker. So the first thing you need to be aware of is your images should have the following format. So I'm going to use empty stars for this. So you can see it's empty star, and they should usually be a .png file. @2x is what the Apple Watch is going to be looking for. And that's just in the file name here. So you see empty star @2x and filled star @2x. So I'm just going to bring one image in initially, and I can actually just click and drag it into my my app icon section here below the app icon. You can see it creates another set, and it just names it after the file. And you see it kind of stripped away the @2x designation. So it kind of does that on its own, and you can see that it sets it at 2x. And what this stands for is basically the resolution for like Retina screens. So all Apple Watches have a Retina display. That's why it just defaults to 2x. Now, if we were using this on, say, a non-Retina device, we would want to have a 1x version. And if we were using it on something with a higher resolution, for example, an iPhone 6 or newer iPads, we would want a 3x because those have really high resolutions. But because we're only going to be using it on our WatchKit, we only need to make sure we have a 2x version. So that's just really simple way how we can get an icon or an image into our WatchKit app. And so let's take a look at our storyboard here. All that we did really is bring in that icon. So now we can use this in our code. So if I get rid of this on the left and go to our assistant editor, so now what I can do is I can actually set that image as the accessory image for each of these picker items. And then because it recognizes it's in a picker, it kind of resizes it so that it'll fit inside anyway, which is nice. So we don't have to reformat it ourselves in that case. And so what we can do is we can actually just name the image file. So for example, let's say we want to put sort of that star image along with all of our picker items. We don't want to show a different item for each, at least initially. So what we can say is we can say picker item dot, and we can see that it's kind of auto-completing there for us already. So accessory image, that's what we want. So accessory image equals, and it's a WatchKit image. And we can see down below, this is specifically for our picker interface, right? A WatchKit image object is a wrapper for images you use with a picker interface. And we can take it from any number of image sources, but we're going to basically say this. We'll say image name. You can see it takes a string. So image name, and we just give it the name of our image there. So it would be filled star is what we want. Right? So it's going to look in our assets for a file called filled star.png. right, which does exist. So this should allow us to set the accessory image. And we're mapping through our months, right? So this is how we can set it for every single one. And because we don't have different images at this point, it kind of makes sense to use the same one. So let's take a look at what that looks like in our actual simulator. And then I think you'll get some idea of what it's going to do for us. So wait for that to load up here. And again, just to kind of take a look, while that's loading up, let's take a look at our assets. So, you can have a whole bunch of different sets of assets here. And it's really up to you at this point to decide what kind of images you want to use. Probably want to use some that are okay quality because it is a nice quality screen on the watch. And our example is just a really simple star. But let's take a look. Okay, so we can see here, if I maybe zoom in a bit, we can see that there's something now as an accessory image attached to every one of these. Right, so if your picker was some sort of different list, you might want to kind of loop through and map out different images as well. But for our purpose, we're not really going to need to worry about that. So let's say we just wanted to display a star for everyone, and hey, we're doing it. We could then do a different one over here. So let's go ahead and do that. And let's just use the other image I have handy. So my empty star at 2x.png. So I'll bring that in like so. Okay, so now I have another set of images, empty star. So what we can do is we can go to our code. We'll go to our interface storyboard, go to our code. And we will basically do the exact same thing here. So for our days.map, we will say picker to item dot accessory image. Yeah, accessory image equals wk image. Image name is empty star. Okay, let's run that again. And one way you might consider looping through these is you might name it something different. And then you can kind of loop through based on the number. So for example, the first one could be 1.png, the second one could be 2.png. And then as you map through, you can kind of figure out how to loop through that, kind of like we're doing with these, right? Just with images instead though. So there we go, that's what that looks like. And that's pretty much it for our first style of picker. There are other styles as well, which we'll go over shortly.